Hey, I'm Primitive Tim, and today we're going to learn how to make primitive field tips for our primitive arrows. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to shape our wood, and we're going to try and straighten it as much as possible. So you can see there's a curve here, so I'm just going to start taking some wood off over here. So we're going to see it's starting to take shape here, and we're just going to want to perfect this shape a little bit more, and probably bring this narrow part up a little bit, and of course take a lot of wood off of the point. This is going to need to get thinned down quite a bit. Alright, so the shape of my point here, I like it. It looks pretty good. And so now I've got to prepare the shaft for the point. Now to prepare the shaft, I'm just going to start shaving off wood until I hit the inside of the shaft. The center has been cut all the way through, and you can see there's a little notch here. From here, what I can do is I'm just going to use the blunt side of my blade here and just kind of push out the pith area and make a little bit of extra room here. And so this is what it's going to look like right here. So now that I've got this prepared and my shaft almost done, I'm going to stick it in there and see how it fits. Obviously I'm going to need to take off a little bit more wood here and there, so I'll just do that, and then I'll take off that little bit of wood, check it again, see how it does. And I don't want to shove it in there because it might split. Actually, I've got some sinew here to avoid that. Alright, so that's starting to fit pretty good, and so at this point what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and take that out. And this part you're going to have to be careful with, but what I do here is I'm just going to start about midway up the shaft, and I'm going to pull kind of a thick slice off like this. I'm going to leave that there. I'll do that on either side. And so it looks like that. Now I'm going to slide that into the shaft so it fits like this. And so that looks pretty good, right? I'm going to go ahead and take this out, and I want everything to be nice and smooth. So these harsh edges here, I'm going to go ahead and smooth those down a bit, just so that when I put the point on, it'll transition smoothly. Alright, so now my point fits really well in there, and I'm going to pull these little flaps down, and so it looks about like this. I'm just going to push that in as much as I can. So I'm going to take my sinew and I'm going to sinew wrap these flaps down to the shaft so that everything goes pretty even and smoothly. So I'm going to start at the very top, right here, and I'm just going to work my way down. Now personally, I don't want to waste any more sinew on wrapping this because I think this is fine. So I'm just going to cut off those little barbs. Now one thing about the point is, because it's wood, you don't want it to be really narrow and long. You kind of want it to be bulky. And so with the tip here, I go out to the very tip and I just try and cut as harsh an angle on the tip as I can, so that it's basically just kind of blunt looking. And kind of just work on the symmetry a little bit. Make sure that it's all good. Now we want to make sure that this is on here nice and solid. So there's a few little tests we can do to make sure that it's on there. So what we'll do is we can just grab the very tip of it and then grab the other end. So kind of like this. And then just work it around. And if you can feel this wobbling here, then you didn't make it tight enough. Maybe you took too much wood off of your point or something, and it's just sitting in there a little bit loose. But you want to make sure that it's real nice and tight. So that feels pretty good. So now we've got to go test these and make sure they work. So these did really well on the target, and I'm happy with that. They also do fairly well shooting into the ground, or if you go stump shooting and you're shooting other soft targets. We're gonna go test these out on trees, and see how they do, because every so often we do accidentally hit a tree, and it'll just be kind of cool to see what these will withstand and how they withstand it. This probably isn't the best design, but there could definitely be some modification. And one thing I thought about doing was making little grooves in these parts that are sticking out here, so that the sinew can really grab into it. So if it sticks into something and you go to pull it out, it's not going to be able to slide out nearly as easily. Alright, so we've got to put these points to the test and see how they do if they do hit a tree or something. So I'm just going to shoot this oak tree just basically point blank with kind of a lighter bow. This isn't something I would normally shoot around, but this is kind of basically a kid's bow, I guess. Ooh, that one broke. So let's go check them out and see how they did. Alright, so we can tell this one right here broke. We're gonna pull that out. Now let's see about this one. Man. Now you can see this one here, it actually split a little bit, and I don't know, maybe it was just too green. Maybe some fire hardening would have helped that, but who knows. This is definitely some damage though. So we're gonna go up to my heaviest bow and see how they fare with that. Alright, so I've got my a heavier bow now, and we're gonna see if we can just finish these off and just really put them to the test. Ooh, that was nasty. Ooh, man, that one snapped right off. Alright, so this arrow is actually still barely attached. It'll slide right out. This was the foreshaft here, and yeah, it's pretty well destroyed. I'm gonna see if I can get it out though. So that penetrated pretty deep. Actually, I'm just gonna leave this in there to keep it stopped up, so that no like bugs or anything are gonna get into the wood of this tree here. This other arrow right here, it pretty much broke clean off. Well, I wouldn't say clean, because part of it's still in the shaft and then the other part is it's just broken. And look at the tip here. The tip is just totally smudged off. I mean, you just got all the fibers just pushed out all over the place. So all in all, I say these tips held up pretty good to the abuse, especially this one right here. That's pretty incredible. I'm gonna leave that in there though. So yeah, now keep in mind, these arrows are pretty long, so I can just cut them down a little bit and throw in new tips. It's not like I'm destroying an entire arrow. So I want you to keep that in mind.